The prodigal son was back, which meant me, the husband by contract, was on my way out. My mother-in-law, Eleanor, who had always treated me with the warmth of 1,000 suns, now orbited a different star. Her attention was fixed entirely on her daughter's childhood friend. "You've been gone so long, Landon. I'm going to cook all your favorites and put some meat back on those bones." My sister-in-law, Chloe, who usually clung to me like static, was all sharp edges and crossed arms. "Sorry, but I never wanted you for a brother-in-law anyway." And Claire Sterling, my Ice Queen CEO of a wife, was as frigid as ever. Look at a divorce. Her childhood friend, Landon Vance, shot me a triumphant smirk. "Sorry, man. Can't help it. Some of us just have that kind of charm. Even after all this time, they're still crazy about me." I didn't say a word. My hands trembled slightly as I took the divorce papers. I turned and walked toward the door, shoulders slumped, a portrait of lonely, pathetic defeat. Anyone watching would have thought I was the star of my own sad, silent movie. The second the front door clicked shut behind me, though a grin stretched across my face. I slid into the back of a yellow cab and pulled out my phone. Staring at the bank account balance, at the long string of zeros after the 7, I couldn't stop the laugh bubbling up from my chest. I'd only ever seen that many zeros on a NASA countdown clock. "Someone get some good news?" the driver asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I tossed him a Gatorade I'd grabbed from the fridge on my way out. "Today," I announced, "I'm a free man." A smile touched the corner of his mouth. "Congratulations." "Thanks. So where to?" "Take me to the most romantic place in the world." He raised an eyebrow. "A honeymoon suite in the Poconos." "The coast." He chuckled, and so did I. With a fortune in my pocket, I drove the great American landscape. I saw the granite faces of Rushmore and the geysers of Yellowstone, the sprawling canyons and the towering redwoods. Then I went global, chasing summer across continents until I finally came home, sinking into a plush bed, ready to spend the next day exploring the city's best coffee shops. But when I woke up, the world was spinning. The ceiling was unfamiliar. My arms and legs were tied, heavy and useless. A familiar perfume filled the air. A shadowy figure loomed over me, their eyes seeming to glow red in the dim light, and then they pounced. "Finally caught you." Truth is, I should have seen this coming. It's how all the stories go. The day it all fell apart, a man in an impeccably tailored suit was holding court in the living room, charming everyone around him. "And who is this?" His eyes landed on me. I've been lounging on the sofa, scrolling through my phone. I stood up, pocketing it. "Hi, He's Claire's husband." Before I could finish, Eleanor emerged from the kitchen. She looked impossibly young for her age, a more glamorous, relaxed version of her daughter. She set a platter of sliced fruit on the coffee table, her smile never leaving her face as she looked at the man. They'd been married for 3 years now. The man's brow furrowed. He glanced at Claire, who remained impassive, her expression a perfect mask of cold indifference. His face tightened for a second before he turned back to me, the charming smile plastered back on. "Well, a brother-in-law. Forgive my manners." He strode over, hand extended. "I can't believe Claire got married. We grew up together, practically attached at the hip. You'd think she would have told me." "That's not cool, Claire." His words were light, but his eyes were like daggers. "Landon Vance." He flashed an expensive watch as we shook hands. "Ethan Hayes." An immense pressure immediately clamped down on my hand. He was trying to crush it, his eyes challenging me. Then he slung an arm around my shoulders, pulling me close as if sharing a friendly secret. He leaned in, his voice a low hiss in my ear. "I suggest you get the picture and walk away on your own, buddy, or I'll make you." He pulled back instantly, but his grip on my hand didn't loosen. I let him squeeze, a flicker of a smile playing on my lips. Then I brought my other hand up, gently placing it over his. "It must have been a long flight. You look exhausted." His eyes widened. His face flushed a deep red, veins popping on his forehead. His shoulder dipped as he staggered, trying to yank his hand back, but I held firm. After a moment, I let go with a smile. He stood there, panting, sweat beading on his brow. "What were you two whispering about?" Eleanor asked cheerfully. Landon gritted his teeth, shot me a venomous look, then turned to Eleanor with a forced smile. "Nothing, just guy stuff. A little secret between men, right?" He looked at me, his expression daring me to say anything. No one will believe you, it said. I shrugged. That's right. Landon chuckled. Yeah, just some guy. But it's nothing I can't tell my own mother-in-law, I interrupted smoothly. Mr. Vance here was just telling me that after his trip abroad, he discovered he has an interest in men. Specifically me. That's why his handshake was so enthusiastic. Eleanor gasped. Now that I'd said it, the scene replayed in their minds through a new lens. Landon grabbing my hand, pulling me into an intimate huddle, whispering passionately in my ear, then holding on for dear life, face red, breathing heavy, staring at me with wide, intense eyes. It all added up. He's gay. Chloe, who must have come home at some point, shouted with glee. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing it in real life. She rummaged through her designer tote bag and pulled out a manga. Lanny, can you do this pose for me? Lanny? My eyebrows shot up. Eleanor rapped Chloe on the head. What did I say about that nickname? Show some respect. Chloe rubbed her head, pouting. But it's his fault. Remember that time in middle school when he was alone in the dance studio? Landon's eyes went wide with panic. He snatched the manga from her. I'll do it. I'll do the pose, he stammered, cutting her off with a strained smile. Chloe, thrilled, wisely dropped the subject. She flipped open the book. This page right here. Landon, oozing confidence again, tossed his perfectly parted hair. Let's see it. I can pull off any. His voice trailed off. His face went from confident to ashen. He forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. Hey, Chloe, maybe we could pick a different one. Why? She asked, genuinely confused. I think this one is great. It has so much. Raw power. Raw power. I craned my neck to see and almost stumbled. The illustration was beautifully drawn, the man and handsome. That was normal. What wasn't normal was his expression of doe-eyed vulnerability as he bit the hem of his shirt, exposing a toned stomach. It was a look of pure, damsel-in-distress helplessness. And on the opposite page, facing him, was a crowd of hulking, muscle-bound men. Chloe, you were a menace. Her face was full of eager anticipation. Landon's was full of dread. In the end, Landon was forced to take a few pictures. But Chloe, that little devil, dragged him outside onto the brownstone steps, making him strike the pose for all the neighbors to see. The street filled with muffled laughter and a few too many lingering, interested stares from passers-by. Mortified, Landon grabbed his jacket and fled. As he ran, he shot me a look of pure hatred, as if this was all my fault. I sighed and sat back down on the sofa. Eleanor was humming happily in the kitchen. Claire had disappeared into her home office, as cold and distant as ever. And Chloe was giggling on the couch, scrolling through the photos she'd just taken. Everything in its right place. Thinking back, it all felt surreal, like something out of a novel. My marriage to Claire had been a business deal. She'd been in a car wreck, and I just happened to be passing by. I pulled her from the twisted metal and got her to the hospital. As a thank you, and because her family was pressuring her to get married, we struck a deal, a 3-year contract, a fake marriage. In addition to a lump sum of $300,000, I got a monthly salary of $5,000. It was the best gig ever. Honestly, now that her childhood sweetheart was back, I was fine with a divorce. But I couldn't be the one to initiate it. The contract was crystal clear. If I broke it, I'd owe her $1 million. $1 million. Unless she asked for it or our 3 years were up, my lips were sealed. What if this was all a scheme to get me to pay up? Besides, for every day I stayed, I got paid. For the sake of the money, why would I be in a hurry to leave? Only a fool argues with a paycheck. But today's events made me realize my peaceful gig was probably over. I was frowning at my phone when a pair of long, slender legs draped themselves over my lap. I pushed them off. They came right back. After a few rounds of this, I looked over. Chloe was lounging on the other end of the couch, a mischievous grin on her face. I want it, she said, her voice a low purr. What kind of talk was that? The next moment, her grin turned into a yelp of pain. Eleanor had walked over and flicked her on the forehead. Is that any way to talk to your brother-in-law? Have you no manners? Eleanor shot her a glare, pushed her legs off me, and sat down between us. She placed a bowl of cubed watermelon on the table. Here, eat. Oh, thanks. As I reached for a piece, Chloe kicked me gently. I looked over, but she was the picture of innocence. I reached again, and again her foot nudged mine. I saw her open her mouth slightly, batting her eyelashes, a clear signal for me to feed her. The next thing she knew, a piece of watermelon was being popped in her mouth by her mother. Honestly, you have no shame, saying things like that. Eleanor looked at her with exasperation. Chloe, completely unbothered, kicked her legs in the air. I was just kidding. I just wanted Ethan to give me a leg rub. Besides, he gives you foot rubs. Thump. Chloe got another flick on the forehead. That's different, Eleanor said, flustered. I twisted my ankle, and Ethan was helping me with the swelling. Chloe mumbled under her breath, same difference. Seeing her mother's hand raise again, she scrambled up and dashed into Claire's office to cause trouble there instead. A moment later, we heard a shout. Chloe. Watching them, I felt a pang of warmth. It was a nice family, but it was all built on a lie. When Claire and I finally divorced, I wonder how they would react. Eleanor had speared a piece of watermelon with a toothpick and was holding it to my lips. Whoa, no, I can get it. I quickly took it from her. She just chuckled and let me. I took a bite. Wow, this is really sweet. If you like it, have some more, she said, smiling. Honestly, Eleanor was wonderful to me. I was just an ordinary guy. If I hadn't saved Claire, and if Claire hadn't been desperate to get her family off her back, I never would have met people like this. When Claire first brought me home, I almost mistook Eleanor for her older sister. She carried none of the arrogance you'd expect from the wealthy. She was gentle and asked me a lot of questions. Most of them were things Claire and I had rehearsed, habits, hobbies, our story. For the rest, I improvised. Somehow I passed. Eleanor seemed very pleased, holding my hand and telling me about her life. I learned she hadn't had it easy. Claire's father died young, leaving her to raise a daughter and run a massive corporation all on her own. She was a remarkable woman. When Claire and I got married, she'd cried tears of joy. Looking at her now, I felt a wave of guilt. I'm sorry. I'm a counterfeit, a fraud your daughter hired. That night, after showering, I walked into the bedroom and froze. Claire was already in bed, propped up against the headboard, reading a book. Well, this was awkward. Because Eleanor was staying over, we couldn't sleep in separate rooms. Claire sat there quietly, her hair still slightly damp. Under the warm lamplight, her skin glowed with a pinkish hue. I sighed, pulled a comforter and pillow from the closet, and started making a bed for myself on the floor. The sound of a book snapping shut made me look up. Claire was watching me with those cool, mysterious eyes. You can. Sleep on the bed tonight. The words stunned me. I took a few steps back, my hands up in mock defense. Hey, I'm for hire, but not for that. Claire blinked, then gave me a look that said, Are you serious? Unless you pay extra. She froze. A moment later, she closed her eyes as if suppressing a surge of anger. It looks like it's starting to rain, she said, her voice soft, her gaze averted. It's not good to sleep on the floor when it's damp. She paused. And Mom's been acting a little strange today. I'm worried she might just walk in. I was skeptical. You think she'd really do that? Claire just sighed, her expression unreadable. I can never figure out what she's thinking. It's better to be safe than sorry. We can't risk blowing our cover. You trust me that much? I asked. She looked at me, her gaze steady. Would you try anything? Without waiting for an answer, she set her book down, shot me one last glance, and lay down. Suit yourself. I watched her, the thin blanket doing little to hide the graceful curves of her body. I frowned. Wait a second, lady. That last question was dangerously ambiguous. Outside, the rain began to fall harder, and a damp chill seeped into the room. I glanced at the empty space on the bed beside her. Gritting my teeth, I dove in. To hell with it. The sheets were warm and smelled faintly of her. I swallowed hard and closed my eyes, silently reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. This fragrant warmth, less than a foot away from me. This was a test. She was definitely trying to tempt me into breaking the contract so she could sue me for everything I had. The nerve. With that thought, I started to drift off, only to be jolted awake by a ringing phone. I heard Claire's voice, then a man's. His voice was soft, almost whiny. Claire, it's thundering. I'm so scared. Can you come over? Good Lord. It was Landon. I waited to see how she'd respond. According to the romance novel script, this is where she'd sit bolt upright, her voice filled with concern, and rush out to comfort him, ignoring her husband's protests and even scolding him for being petty. When did you become such a drama queen? Did your orientation really change? Are you trying to tell me something? There was a stunned silence on the other end. Claire, you misunderstood. I was worried about you. He launched into a long-winded speech about his concern for her safety. Claire sighed. Okay, I get it. He sounded overjoyed. So you're coming? I'll wait for you, Claire. She hung up. I felt her gaze on my back. The warmth beside me shifted, then moved away. I heard the soft sound of feet hitting the floor. I kept my eyes closed, thinking the novels never lie. She was going out in the rain to be with Landon. Probably wouldn't be back all night. And tomorrow, if I dare to mention it, she'd say, we're just friends. Can you stop being so insecure? If anything was going to happen between us, it would have happened a long time ago. You wouldn't even be in the picture. I was a genius. As I was congratulating myself, I heard her clear, cool voice, though I couldn't make out the words. A moment later, I felt the warmth return to the bed behind me. Our backs were touching. A shiver ran down my spine. Wait a minute. That's not how the scene is supposed to go. I was still trying to figure it out when, sometime later, the phone rang again. I heard Claire let out an irritated sigh. She answered. A frantic voice came through the speaker. Claire. It was Landon. There are these huge guys outside my door. It's terrifying. Are you here yet? Claire's voice was flat. I'm still at home. But you said you were coming, he squawked. Do you have any idea what time it is? It's pouring rain. Why would I go out? Besides, I sent a few guys over. With them there, nobody can hurt you. But a loud crash echoed through the phone, followed by a buzzing sound as Claire held the phone away from her ear. Landon's voice, now a terrified scream, cut through the static. No, what are you doing? Stop. My pants. What is that? No, not there. A series of agonized shrieks and muffled shouts followed. Then I heard Claire in the call and felt her snuggle back into the bed. I clenched my butt cheeks. I heard nothing. Nothing at all. That woman is terrifying. The next morning, a gentle breeze on my face woke me up. I opened my eyes. Holy hell. Claire's face was inches from mine. I nearly jumped out of my skin, and somehow, my arm was wrapped around her. Impossible. I sleep like a log. How could this happen? It had to be her scheme. A plan to make me violate the contract, force me to return all the money, and pay her $1 million. So devious. Gazing at her flawless skin, I carefully retracted my arm. I slid out of bed, and only when I was sure she was still asleep did I let out a breath of relief. I showered, got dressed, and headed downstairs. And then, I saw Landon at the dining table. When he saw me, his face darkened for a moment before he broke into a smile and stood up. Claire! I paused. A familiar scent washed over me as Claire emerged from the bedroom behind me. Oh boy, this was going to kill Landon. He walked toward us, his movements strangely stiff and awkward. Lanny, is that a new dance move you're working on? Chloe called out from the kitchen, eyeing his posture with a smirk. Landon's expression froze. He shot me another glare, as if convinced last night's security detail was my idea. What did I do to deserve this? He forced a laugh and walked over to the sideboard, grabbing a few gift bags. I was in such a rush yesterday, I forgot to give you these. You shouldn't have, Eleanor said, taking them as she ushered everyone to the table. The breakfast spread was lavish. Lanny, why aren't you sitting? Chloe asked, taking a bite of croissant. Landon was still standing, looking deeply uncomfortable. It's fine, he said with a strained smile. I'm on a new fitness plan. Eating while standing is better for digestion. Chloe's eyes twinkled. She sauntered over behind him, placed her hands on his shoulders, and grinned. Don't be like that. You're making it seem like we're not close anymore. With that, she pushed him down into the chair. Arg! A strangled cry escaped his lips. His brow was slick with sweat. Chloe feigned innocence. Oh, was I too rough? Lanny. She pressed down again for good measure, making him grit his teeth, his face turning crimson. No, I'm fine. Eleanor told everyone to start eating. Come on, this soup took me hours. You have to try it. She ladled a bowl for Landon. Chloe bounced back to her seat, and Landon seemed to relax slightly. He exhaled, picked up the bowl, and his eyes lit up. This looks incredible. Wanting to impress Eleanor, he lifted the bowl and drank the entire thing in one go. Delicious. So fragrant. Eleanor, this soup is... Oof. His body convulsed like a shrimp. His face turned a pale, greenish color, a look of sheer panic in his eyes. He clapped a hand over his rear end and stared at Eleanor in horror. Eleanor, what kind of soup was that? She tapped her chin, a sly smile on her face. It's my 10-herb healing broth. I put in a lot of herbs that improve circulation and break up bruising. Tastes good, doesn't it? Improve circulation? Landon's eyes widened as if he'd just realized something terrible. His face became a kaleidoscope of colors, shifting from red to green to a sickly shade of gray. The next second, he was on his feet, a pained smile stretched across his lips. "Ha, Eleanor, I just remembered I have something urgent to do. I've got to run." Clutching his backside, he scurried out of the room, trying to keep his back to the wall. But he wasn't fast enough. As he turned to leave, we all saw it, a bright red stain, blossoming on the seat of his beige linen pants. Claire and Eleanor immediately lost their appetites. Chloe, however, didn't seem to notice, happily munching away. "Hey, sis," she said cheerfully to Claire. "I ran into Jake and the guys today. They said they went over to Lanny's last night and saw he'd gotten into a fight or something." She popped a meatball into her mouth. They said it was brutal. Apparently, he was making fun of some guys on the street earlier in the day, and they caught up with him that night to teach him a lesson with a couple of baseball bats. My jaw dropped. "Oh, Landon, my friend, my condolences. But if Jake was there, he wouldn't have taken advantage. Best not to think about it. I thought Landon might lay low for a while. I underestimated his resilience." About a week later, he invited us all out to dinner. Sorry I had to rush off last time. Things have just been so hectic at the office. You know how it is." My apologies, he said, accidentally flashing a new Rolex. He ordered half the menu. The table was covered in exquisite-looking dishes. "Don't be shy. If you want anything else, just say the word." "It's not good," Chloe declared after one bite, completely deadpan. "Not as good as Ethan's cooking." Landon's smile froze. Eleanor came to the rescue. Chloe's just a picky eater." She took a bite herself. "This is delicious. You really put a lot of thought into this, Landon." A flicker of a smile returned to his face. "But it's true," Eleanor added. "It's not quite as good as Ethan's." Landon's jaw tightened. He looked hopefully at Claire. "Claire, you have to try this. I picked this restaurant especially for you." He picked up his chopsticks to serve her. Claire ignored him completely, taking a piece of fish for herself. She chewed thoughtfully, offering neither praise nor criticism. Landon laughed awkwardly and turned to me. "Mr. Hayes, you should try some too. It's not every day you get to eat like this." I heard the dig, but I didn't care. I popped a piece of shrimp in my mouth. Was all I said. Landon frowned. "Oh, I guess that means your cooking really is something special." I just smiled. "I haven't said a word, and you've already drawn your own conclusion." He sneered. "Well, you must be a very humble man. Unlike me, I'm so busy with work, I never have time to cook at home. Just last month, I closed a deal in Europe that was worth." He droned on, the subtext clear. He was important, and I was not. Finally, he got his point. "So, Mr. Hayes, where are you working these days?" His eyes were full of challenge. I looked him straight in the eye. "Oh, me? I'm living off my wife." He was so taken aback by my bluntness that he just stared. From across the table, Chloe burst out laughing. Ha, Ethan, you're too much. Lanny, don't listen to him. He's my sister's executive assistant. He's amazing at his job." She wasn't lying. Since I had the opportunity, I figured why not learn something? Working with Claire, I'd picked up a ton about business, made connections, and gained invaluable experience. It was a win-win. Even after the divorce, I'd be set. Hearing this, Landon just raised an eyebrow and launched into stories about his and Claire's past. "You have no idea. We were the golden couple in high school. Everyone thought we'd end up together. What a shame, huh?" He turned to me with a look of mock sympathy. "Oh, my mistake. I shouldn't be talking about this. I'll drink to that." Chloe, finishing a piece of fish, chimed in happily. Ha, Lanny, you're so funny. Wasn't the golden couple a rumor you paid a bunch of kids to spread? One of them even tried to pay me to do it. And didn't you get dragged behind the gym and beaten up by that senior who had a crush on my sister?" Eleanor stuffed a piece of steak in Chloe's mouth to shut her up. She chewed, swallowed, and mumbled, still not as good as Ethan's cooking. Landon, seizing the opportunity to change the subject, turned to me with a smirk. "Well then, perhaps we could all have the pleasure of tasting, mister." Hayes is cooking tonight. I was about to refuse. I don't work for free, but Chloe answered for me. He'd love to. Damn it. What are you doing? Landon's smile was triumphant. As it happens, I know my way around a kitchen as well. Chloe grinned. Oh, then I'll get the ingredients. You two can have a cook-off. Next thing I knew, we were in the restaurant's kitchen. In front of us were several bowls of foraged mushrooms, a type of false morel, notoriously tricky to prepare. I sighed and glanced at Chloe, who was beaming. Begin. I worked quickly, expertly slicing the mushrooms, sautéing them with practiced ease. Within minutes, the dish was done. Chloe rushed forward to taste it, followed by Eleanor, and their faces lit up with praise. Even Claire gave a small, approving nod. Landon watched, then took a deep breath. If I could do it, he could too. The steps were simple enough. You know, Lanny, you could just give up. My sister won't think any less of you, Chloe goaded. That erased any last shred of doubt in his mind. No problem. Just you wait. He got to work, mimicking my steps exactly. A few minutes later, he presented his dish. Please enjoy. But the three women took a step back, gesturing for him to go first. Landon, furious at their lack of trust, let out an awkward laugh and shoveled a large bite into his mouth. Then another and another, as if to prove a point. See? Perfectly fine. You guys should really. Whoa, look at all the pretty stars. His body started to sway. He stumbled, a goofy grin plastered on his face. Worried, Eleanor called for their driver, Jake. The moment Jake walked in, Landon's eyes lit up as if he'd seen a divine vision. Claire, my love, he slurred, a lecherous smile spreading across his face. You dressed up like this just for me, didn't you? Here I come. He tore off his shirt and pants and threw himself at Jake. Jake's face lit up with joy for a split second before he composed himself, struggling to contain his excitement. Claire just waved a dismissive hand, rubbing her temples. Jake, just get him to the hospital. Jake looked down at Landon, licked his lips, and gave his ass a discreet squeeze before scooping him up in a Princess Carrie and rushing him out the door. I watched them go, then quietly scraped Landon's mushrooms into the trash. Godspeed, my friend. May you protect not only your health, but your dignity. That weekend, I was out with Claire, Chloe, and Eleanor. Chloe, as usual, was dragging me from one place to another. Right in the middle of our walk, Claire's phone rang. Claire, I think I'm sick. My head is killing me. Can you come over? Claire's tone was flat. I'm not a doctor. It's not like I can magically cure you. But you're the closest person I have here. I'm all alone. He was playing the sympathy card. Claire's expression softened slightly. Oh, I see. That is sad, right? So I'll have Jake come take care of you. I'm fine now. Never mind, Landon said quickly and hung up. We kept walking, and a short while later, we ran into Landon in the park. He looked pale and genuinely unwell. What are you doing here? Claire asked. Landon forced a smile. The doctor said a walk would do me good, get some fresh air. What a coincidence running into you here. He then proceeded to follow us. Everywhere we went, he was there. He's like gum on a shoe, Chloe muttered. He just smiled, then sidled up to me. I'm going to show you what I mean to them, he whispered, a smirk on his face. He grabbed my hand and then dramatically threw himself backward. Oh no, Mr. Hayes, I didn't realize my return would upset you so much. Claire, don't blame. His fall was broken. His words died in his throat. He recognized the solid back and familiar scent of the person who had caught him. Mr. Vance, are you all right? He turned his head. Jake was smiling brightly down at him. One of Jake's hands was on his chest, the other cupping his butt. Landon felt a firm squeeze. I saw the whole thing, Jake said cheerfully, squeezing again. A shiver of pure terror ran through Landon as the memories of the other night, and a certain phantom pain came flooding back. Jake set him on his feet and walked over to deliver a package to Eleanor. After he was done, he waved to us, giving Landon a special wink before he left. Landon's face was as white as a sheet. I just sighed and kept walking, Landon trailing behind. At a quieter intersection, a group of guys with bad-eye jobs and worse attitudes blocked our path. Give us your money and no one gets hurt, one of them growled, though his eyes were leering at Claire and the others. Landon immediately stepped in front of them. Claire, you guys go. I can handle these punks. He struck a professional-looking fighting stance and charged. A moment later, "That's not right." We agreed. "You're not getting past me." He was already bruised and bleeding, but he struggled to his feet and charged again. A few minutes later, he was on the ground, being kicked by the whole group. He looked over at us, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Claire, run!" But when he looked again, the men who had been beating him were all on the ground, groaning in pain. And standing over them was the last person he wanted to see. I clapped the dust off my hands. Really, was all this necessary? Landon just stared in agony. Just then, another group of thugs rounded the corner. "All right, hand over the—" They stopped short, seeing Landon and their colleagues already taken out. They were completely bewildered. Weren't they the only ones who got hired for this job? Was this some kind of turf war? Furious, their leader charged at me. I cracked my knuckles, feeling the ache in my muscles. Taking on that many guys at once wasn't easy. But the next second, police sirens wailed. Chloe ran to my side, along with Eleanor and Claire. "I called the cops, Ethan." The approaching thug's eyes widened. He hit the ground in a perfect slide. "I'm sorry." His crew behind him, in perfect unison, dropped to their knees with their hands on their heads. The police arrived and cuffed the first group. The second group looked like seasoned professionals, their surrender posture flawless. As they were led away, one of them even called out to us. "Hey man, our bad. We'll buy you a beer next time." Unbelievable. After the police left, Chloe and Eleanor swarmed me. "Ethan, are you okay? Don't you die on me, brother-in-law." Their hands were all over me, checking for injuries. I felt like I was being taken advantage of. Claire stood off to the side, looking at me with an unreadable expression. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it, looking down at the ground. From the pavement, a weak voice called out, Ambulance." Jake arrived once again, scooping up Landon and rushing him to the hospital. I got checked out too, just a few scrapes and bruises. I reached for my phone to check the time, but it was gone. Must have dropped it during the fight. "Here it is." Chloe came back into the room, holding up my phone. "Aren't I the best?" she asked with a grin. I took the phone. "Yeah, you're the best." She leaned in close. "Oh, you said it. I'll be waiting for you tonight. Always with the jokes, that one." She giggled, waved, and then her expression changed. "I've actually got to run. Mom will take good care of." "Hey, where'd Mom go?" Eleanor was gone. Chloe looked at Claire, who had just walked in. "Well, sis, you take care of your husband. I have to go." And with that, she bolted as if her life depended on it. Claire blinked, then looked at me, a little awkwardly. She sighed and sat down beside me. "Does it still hurt anywhere?" she asked softly. I shook my head. "I'm fine. Don't be so reckless next time. You need to protect yourself." I was stunned. I never expected to hear that from her. "Okay, I will." Her gaze fell on a cut on my arm. Her hand twitched, as if wanting to reach out, but she clenched it into a fist instead. "I'll help you walk." "I don't need." Her cold stare cut me off. "I'll pay you extra." "Yes, ma'am." She supported me all the way home. After all that, Landon finally stayed quiet for a while. To be honest, if he had succeeded, it wouldn't have bothered me. If Claire ended the contract early, she owed me $1 million. Still, after almost 3 years, I felt a little nostalgic. I was walking home with groceries. It was Eleanor's birthday, and Chloe had insisted I cook. A useful skill is a popular skill, I guess. Claire had a meeting and said she'd be late, so I went ahead on my own. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Claire. It was an address, a hotel, with instructions to meet her there. Something she needed to discuss. A hotel? Strange. Still, I went. When I got to the room, the door was ajar. I pushed it open. "Claire." No answer. I was about to leave when a figure suddenly lunged out, wrapping their arms around me in a tight embrace. I tried to push her off, but she clung to me, trying to kiss me. I finally managed to break free. The woman in front of me was heavily made up and wearing very little. I thought I had the wrong room and turned to leave, but she blocked my path, trying to throw herself at me again. That's when it clicked. It was a setup. I shoved her aside and ran. A little later, I arrived at Eleanor's. Chloe was there, curled up next to her mom on the couch. Claire hadn't arrived yet. I let out a breath and had just set down the groceries when the door opened. Claire walked in, with Landon right beside her. Chloe sidled up to me. "You know, Ethan, I really feel for you. Look how close those two are." She held up her phone. It was a picture of Claire and Landon in a coffee shop, laughing together, framed by the window. The timestamp was from just a little while ago, when Claire was supposedly in her meeting. I raised an eyebrow and looked at Chloe. Shouldn't you be hiding this from me? She's your sister. Chloe just smiled and patted my shoulder. But I like you more. She turned and headed for the kitchen. I watched her go, a thoughtful expression on my face. Soon enough, dinner was ready. Per our agreement, I had to act affectionate with Claire. I went to put some food on her plate, but she pulled away, serving herself. Landon smirked, then tried to serve her a piece of fish, which she also dodged. He laughed awkwardly, then looked at me with a pointed stare. Some people just don't know how to conduct themselves with any decency. I frowned. Lanny, what are you talking about? Chloe demanded. Landon smiled smugly. Oh, I'm not talking nonsense. Someone here knows exactly what I mean. He pulled out his phone and displayed a photo. It was me, in a tight embrace with a scantily clad woman from the hotel. So that was his game. I looked at Claire. It's not what it looks like. You don't have to explain anything to me, she said, her voice flat. I trust you. Her reaction, her tone. I sighed. I was about to explain what happened when Landon dropped his final bomb. And, I found something else that's very interesting. He swiped, and the screen now showed a photo of my marriage contract with Claire. I had no idea. Claire, you and Mr. Hayes are in a fake marriage, he said, his voice dripping with mock surprise. Eleanor snatched the phone. She read it, her hands shaking, then looked at Claire. Claire, explain this to me. Now, Claire's expression barely flickered. She let out a long sigh. What you see is the truth. She told him everything. Eleanor's breathing grew ragged. She slammed the phone down on the table, shattering the screen. Landon winced, but before he could speak, Eleanor cut him off. I knew something was always off about you two. She took a deep breath. The contract is over. Claire flinched. Her lips parted as if to say something to me, but she remained silent. Let's get a divorce. That day, Landon was ecstatic. Eleanor was furious. Claire was as cold as ever. And Chloe just kept eating, seemingly delighted. I walked out of their lives. When the truth came out, Eleanor felt terrible. She said I had saved her daughter's life only to be used by her. So she wrote me a check for $7 million. Ethan, our family has wronged you, she said, gripping my hand tightly. I tried to pull away, but she wouldn't let go. It's okay, I said with a smile. I agreed to it. After a long time, I finally freed myself from her grasp. I never wanted you for a brother-in-law anyway, Chloe whispered in my ear, a triumphant smirk at her voice. I understood everything then. So that's how much they disliked me. It made sense. Landon, for all his flaws, was one of them. I was just an outsider they'd known for less than 3 years. I glanced at the smug look on Landon's face, and at Claire, standing silently by the door, avoiding my gaze. I turned and left. Out on the street, I looked up at the blue sky and white clouds and felt a profound sense of relief. With all this money, how could I not be happy? I had prepared for this day. I already had a place lined up. I hailed a cab. Staring at the bank card in my hand and the string of zeros on my phone screen, I couldn't stop smiling. Someone get some good news? The driver asked. I handed him a soda I grabbed on my way out. Today, I'm a free man. He smiled. Congratulations. Thanks. So where we headed? To the freest place on earth. Vegas. The ocean. He chuckled, and so did I. I went straight to my house on the coast. I threw open the windows, and the fresh, salty air filled the room. I spent my days eating, drinking, and living a life of blissful leisure I'd never known. But things got weird. Eleanor started visiting all the time, bringing food and drinks, staying for hours, always saying she was trying to make up for how Claire had treated me. When I told her it wasn't necessary, she would look at me with sad eyes. Are you angry with me for making you divorce Claire? I thought we could still be friends. How could I refuse that? She had always been good to me. Just because Claire and I were divorced didn't mean we had to be enemies. From now on, you could just call me by my name. Eleanor. Got it, she insisted. Something felt off. Do friends lie in each other's laps while one gives the other an ear cleaning? Strange. And Chloe was even stranger, though it was sort of in character for her. So you're not my brother-in-law anymore. What's it got to do with me? I couldn't argue with her logic. She dragged me everywhere, to food trucks and tourist traps. When we went to her college campus, she'd link her arm through mine and greet all her friends. Chloe, is it your boyfriend? She just gave me a sly look. Is he, or isn't he? She was a little demon. Being tortured by those two started to feel wrong. The whole situation was bizarre, like the calm before a storm. Not wanting to get any more entangled with my former employer's family, I packed a bag one night and fled the country. I saw the world. I swam in the turquoise waters of Thailand and wandered the streets of Venice. I saw the northern lights in Iceland and the lavender fields of Provence. I hiked through Yellowstone and ate my way across 3 continents. But nothing tasted quite right. I missed the food from home. It was months before I returned. After a trip to the mountains, I found myself in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The scenery was breathtaking. I settled into a cozy little cantina, sipping tequila, feeling the world soften at the edges. Hey, handsome, let me buy you a drink. A shot glass slid in front of me. Well, she called me handsome. It would be rude not to. I tossed it back. Thump. Darkness. When I came to, I tried to rub my eyes but found I couldn't move. My arms and legs were bound. The alcohol haze vanished instantly. Crap. I'd been had. I looked to the side and saw who it was, and let out a sigh of relief. Chloe, stop messing around. Untie me. Standing by the bed was Chloe. She was always pulling pranks like this. I smiled, but as she walked closer, her own smile sent a shiver down my spine. You don't seem to understand the situation, do you, Ethan? Her voice was different, and then a strange heat began to spread through my body, a dizzying fog clouding my mind. I was losing control. I finally have you. In the haze, I saw Chloe's dress slip to the floor. Her fingers traced a path from my ear, down my nose, across my lips, to my collarbone. This is perfect. Now I can finally. Her words blurred. I couldn't think straight. No, we can't. I mumbled. She leaned over me, her weight pressing me down into the mattress. Too late. My mind went blank. The world dissolved into heat and sensation. In my delirium, my mind drifted back to my childhood, to grinding chili peppers for my grandmother, the rhythmic thump of the pestle and the mortar, to eating fresh fruit from the garden, apples, pears, and my favorite, grapes, peeling back the dark skin to reveal the sweet pulp inside. Images flickered. Eleanor's face merged with that of my 3rd-grade teacher, a beautiful woman I'd loudly declared I was going to marry. I remembered her ruffling my hair with a strange look in her eyes and saying, "We'll see when you're all grown up." Chloe's face brought back a memory of a shy, quiet girl from middle school who was always being picked on. Right before I moved away, she grabbed my hand and told me she was going to become beautiful and popular, and that I should wait for her. I think I told her to just be herself, to be comfortable in her own skin. I wonder if she ever listened. I thought I heard Eleanor and Chloe arguing. Mom, it's my turn. Just a minute, I'm not done. What? You've had him for hours. It's my turn. Honey, I'm teaching you. Pay attention. Teaching me what? I'm not a child. You went first. How much longer are you going to hog him? Well, maybe you shouldn't have taken a shower first. Finders keepers. Their voices grew louder. You're the one who deliberately leaked the fake marriage to Lanny, aren't you? You scheming witch. How dare you talk to your mother that way? You know better. You're the one who gave Landon the chance to use Claire's phone to text Ethan, who encouraged him to set Ethan up. And that picture from the coffee shop? You were there too, weren't you? What are you talking about? I wasn't there. Oh, I checked the security footage. You were sitting right between them, just out of frame. Claire was smiling at you, wasn't she? Chloe went silent. Good. Now be quiet. I don't know how much time passed. I heard a banging on the door. Open up. I know you're in there. It sounded like Claire. She sounded furious. Mom, don't even try to talk your way out of this. I was going to talk to Ethan, but you told me to wait, that he needed space. And you, Chloe, I came to you for relationship advice, and you said you'd help me figure things out. Is this what you call figuring things out? You two are unbelievable. The arguing continued. I heard Chloe say, well, it's your own fault for being so slow. The noise was splitting my head. I jolted, and the world snapped back into focus. You're awake. Sitting beside me was Claire. Across the room were Chloe and Eleanor. Ethan. They both spoke at once, but one glared from Claire, and they fell silent, staring at the floor like chastened schoolgirls. How did Claire become the one in charge? Eleanor was the matriarch, and Chloe was the resident wild child. Why were they suddenly so terrified of her? I sighed and closed my eyes again. The information overload was too much. I needed a minute. On the drive back, Claire held my arm like her life depended on it. Eleanor drove, and Chloe sat in the passenger seat, silent. Claire told me everything. How she regretted being so cold, so stubborn. From her perspective, she'd started falling for me a long time ago. We'd been through a lot, from the car crash to the daily comedy of our fake marriage. She said my cooking was amazing, that I was always considerate, that I noticed the little things and understood her moods in a way no one else ever had. Bit by bit, I had chipped away at the ice around her heart. At first, she dismissed it as simple gratitude, but eventually, she couldn't deny it anymore. She tried to send signals, but I was, in her words, as dense as a block of wood. That's when all the weirdness from the past few years clicked into place. Her suddenly trying to cook for me, inviting me to famously romantic restaurants, the random gifts, her tender care when I was sick. And that night, she'd invited me in her bed. That was a test, too. In my defense, how was I supposed to know that this beautiful, brilliant, intimidatingly wealthy woman was into me? I haven't read that many romance novels. I'm not so conceited as to assume kindness equals love, especially when I'm on the payroll. You are such an idiot, she said, poking my cheek. I told you I trusted you. So when she said she trusted me, she actually meant it. A soft pressure on my lips silenced me. Claire pulled back, a happy, triumphant smile on her face. You? She did it again. From the front seat, Chloe started to protest. Hey, no fair. Claire shot her a look. You keep quiet. I'll deal with you and Mom when we get home. Chloe knew she was busted. She slumped in her seat, muttering, You want to talk? Excuse me? Claire's voice was sharp. Chloe went silent. Eleanor tried to break the tension. Now, girls, you need to get along. You think you're getting out of this? Claire said without turning around. If I hadn't figured it out, who knows how long your little scheme would have gone on. Eleanor shut her mouth. The car was quiet again, except for the sound of Claire humming happily, snuggled against my arm. I looked down at her. It was so strange. The cold, aloof CEO acting like this. The world had gone mad. By the way, I asked, what happened to Landon? A strange look passed between the three of them. Are you sure you want to know? Claire asked. I nodded, then shook my head. Should I? Or shouldn't I? Claire looked ahead. You'll see in a minute. A few minutes later, we pulled up to the house. Standing on the curb was Jake. Hey, boss. You're back. And Ethan, good to see you. He had a suitcase at his feet. You going somewhere? I asked. Jake just grinned and scratched the back of his head. Yeah, I'm quitting. Just wanted to say goodbye. That was a surprise. Jake was a great guy, always professional. Well, take care of yourself, Claire said. Thanks, you too. As we were talking, another figure emerged from the house. Landon. I watched, stunned, as he walked over to Jake and took his hand. Well, we're off, Jake said, beaming. Come on, sweetheart. He started to lead Landon away. But Landon stopped and walked over to me. I instinctively took a few steps back. I want no part of this. He stopped a few feet away, then bowed his head. I'm sorry. For everything. I just stared, speechless. Landon looked up, a small, genuine smile on his face. Actually, I think I kind of like. I forgive you. Have a great trip, I shouted, cutting him off. If I heard another word, I'd be having nightmares for a week. Jake led Landon away. After they were gone, Claire explained what had happened. In the months I was gone, Landon's family had gone bankrupt. He'd come back to the States, hoping to use his connection with the Sterlings to pay off his debts. When that failed, his creditors came after him. He ended up being sold to some rich old guy with a taste for pretty young men. He was put through hell. And then, like a knight in shining armor, Jake appeared. He used his life savings to pay off a chunk of Landon's debt and rescued him. Between that and the trauma he'd endured, Landon's preferences had changed. I was floored. My joke from all that time ago had actually come true. Life is full of surprises. Just as I never could have imagined, years later, things would end up like this. Are you guys ready? I fiddled with the camera, looking at them. Ready. I set the timer and ran to join them. Click. The photo captured the four of us on the beach, frozen in a moment of pure joy. Though, to be honest, the three of them had been eating way too much lately. Their bellies were all getting so round. Later that night, back at the house, they wanted me to take more pictures of them. They'd strike a pose, making peace signs, but then they'd stick their tongues out and roll their eyes at me. And honestly, You'd think before a picture, they'd wipe the milk off their faces. Honestly, so messy.